What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. This is a continuation of the Storytime episode that you guys saw last, and for the people that are new here on the channel, Storytime is a series where I pretty much tell you guys about all of the maybe funny, dumb, stupid, you know, just anything that I have done in my life that is absolutely extraordinarily out there for some way, reason, or whatever. Well, last video, if you guys remember, if you've seen it, if you have not seen it, then seriously do not watch this video yet. Go watch the other one. It will be worth it. Once you watch the first half, then come and we'll watch the second half. The second half makes sense to pretty much everything that happened in the first one, and you got to watch that one to be able to know what's going on for this one. So anyways, as you guys heard from the last video, yes, I crashed the bike after running from the cops at like 160 miles an hour. As you guys remember, I told you that after that wreck, I didn't want the bike to be recognizable to police because I was still really paranoid and worried about getting in trouble and going to jail, because running from the cops and getting away and being on the run and getting caught for it and everything, that's not really a minor offense, especially for a 17-year-old kid. So I was doing pretty much everything in my power to avoid getting caught for that stuff. So what I did is after wrecking the bike, I decided that since I'd already wrecked it, the fairing pieces needed to be replaced anyways. I might as well just go ahead and get a brand new complete fairing kit for the bike, so it will look like it had basically never been wrecked at all. So Jesus Christ, this is where I'm about to be so harshly judged. And honestly, if you guys judge me in the comments, y'all go for it. I deserve it. I mean, this is stuff that happened a while back. I've already thought about it plenty. I already know that I was wrong for everything that I did, and this is the one time that I will say, if you guys want to bully me in the comments and call me an idiot and call me morally a terrible whatever, I mean, I'm a different person than I was, but again, this was years and years ago. For some reason, in my little convict head, I thought that it was a great idea for me to sell the bike as a new bike after I put the new fairings on it and everything, just so I could get it out of my name, just get it away. I didn't want that bike. I didn't want to be attached to that bike. I didn't want there to be any investigation. And honestly, I made it worse than what the original thing would have been. So the whole thing that I was worried about in last video, if you guys watched it, where I was talking about being worried about getting arrested and this and that, I literally would have been off better if I would have gotten in trouble for that stuff than what I'm going to tell you guys in this video. I really don't know. I took a bad mistake and I made it worse. Anyways, I decided to go and ordered a new fairing kit for it, and it was really nice. It was a Repsol bike. It was 2007. The Repsol is like the race edition. Not really important. I decided to get those fairings for the bike, and it turns out that after a little bit more investigation of looking at the bike and looking it over and pretty much like damage assessment, I found out that the speedometer, the odometer, whatever you want to call it, the gauge cluster had been destroyed, and I didn't know that, but that is actually why the bike wouldn't start. They're still worth a good bit of money because people do fix them. Pretty much what I've planned is to get a new speedometer or gauge cluster with less miles and replace the one that I had, because I needed to get a new odometer anyways. I got the speedometer ordered, okay? And I ordered, instead of getting one that was off a used bike with similar miles, I ordered one with like 200 miles. So what would the average person think whenever they're going to look at a bike like that? Oh yeah, they're gonna think it's a brand new bike and that somebody has kept it in storage and kept it immaculate because it's got brand new everything, and the speedometer even shows that it's only got whatever. Well, here's the real kicker, and this is where I really fucked up, and I'll be honest, it was really stupid, but this is me coming and being honest about everything that I've done. I had the title whenever I told you guys that I bought the bike, and it didn't have a title, right? So the people were going to ship me the title, and I told you about all that, and it ended up coming in the day after I wrecked it. Well, the influence for me to really push to get brand new stuff was because whenever I got the title in, the title also only had 50 miles on it. So the title only showed 50 miles. I would be able to buy the bike and technically like transfer the title into my name and put whatever mileage that I wanted to on the bike, and technically it would look completely legit. Bought it for whatever amount of money with 50 miles on it, and then I had put maybe like 250 miles on it, and I would sell it with quote unquote 300 miles. Really horrible, morally terrible, really stupid. I was an absolute idiot as a kid, and like I said, I learned a lot of lessons, so don't beat me too hard. Well, anyways, I get all the parts in, I put on the new speedometer on the bike, the odometer, gauge cluster, whatever. I put on the new fairings, and it looked absolutely sick. It looked like, honestly, like a brand new bike. There was no scratches anywhere on it. It looked showroom clean, like it was a brand new bike off of the dealership floor. in 2007 whenever that bike was new, which was a problem because I saw a really good advantage there of how to make a little bit more money. And honestly, growing up, I needed a lot of money, and I let money get to my head, and I was really greedy with money, and I made a lot of mistakes with money. And I'm glad, honestly, like I said, I keep saying this, I always will say this, I'm always so thankful that I made the mistakes that I did, because if it wasn't for those mistakes, I would never have been able to learn to get to where I am now. I wouldn't have been able to, I mean, you know what I mean? I'd rather have made those mistakes and learned from them on a very small scale than to the scale of where I'm at now, where things could be a lot worse if I were to be as stupid as I was. But I grew up, and in my opinion, the only way that people grow up is by making mistakes and learning from them, and I did. I just now realized that I got really tied up and caught up in the story, and I was supposed to turn like 4 miles ago. But anyways, so I get it all together. It looks beautiful. You know how you have those conversations sometimes with your conscience, and you're like, are you sure I should do this? Should I do this? Should I not do this? And then the devil, or whatever you believe in, convinces you, and it's like, nah, do it, dude. It's a great idea. Well, that's what happened. So anyways, I listed the bike for sale, and I listed it 2007 CBR 1000 RR. I listed it for $8,000 as a bike with 250 miles that had been garage kept, etc. That is probably my biggest regret out of my entire life, was doing something like that. And the reason why is because I straight up blatantly lied to somebody and sold them a bike knowing everything that had happened. I mean, that's just the most criminal thing I think that I've ever done, and I regret it. And honestly, not even because it's like a criminal act, but more of the fact that it's morally just terrible. It's a crime that I did that had a victim to it. Somebody suffered because of what I did. Maybe not physically, but they spent and wasted extra money on a bike that was not worth nearly that because I lied. And that was something that I'm going to continue and tell you guys in a second that I got checked on, and I'll tell you how. So he tells me that he wants it, and he's actually a nicer, really nice guy. Super nice guy, actually. And you'll see why, trust me. He's one of my favorite guys ever. And honestly, I really wish that I could find out what his name was, because I would love to have more conversation with him now, looking back on it in retrospect, and thank him so much for honestly being the person to steer me in the right direction, because my life was going in a bad direction. Anyways, I sell the bike to the guy. He wants me to go deliver it to him. He lives about 3 hours away, so I was like, okay, cool. So we get the bike and we load it up on a trailer, and I head over to Baton Rouge to go deliver this bike to the guy. So I get there with the trailer behind me. I meet him and whatever. He's an older guy. I'm young at the time, like I said, 16, 17 years old, something like that, junior in high school. He looks over the bike and everything, and he's like, yeah, dude, it's beautiful. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for bringing it. I'll take it. And I was like, okay, cool. And so we had met at a title place. Well, I was hoping that I was already doing something terrible. It really didn't even sit right with me to begin with, so I just wanted to get out of there. So we met at a title place, so that way I could just transfer. Damn it, and the road's still closed. Man, that's where I was supposed to turn. Guess I'm going this way. Anyways, I wanted to be a quick in and out process. That way I didn't have to just sit and realize what I was doing, and I don't know, it just sucked. I definitely know that it was not something that I really wanted to do. It's a long story, but basically I just felt like I needed to do it to be able to get the money to be able to come to school. I don't know. I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to explain my mindset at the time. But the guy pays for it. We transfer the title to his name. We transferred it with 300 miles on it. I literally, after buying the speedometer and everything, installed it on the bike, rode it for 300 miles exactly, around that, and put it up for sale. Didn't ride it again, just so it was all legit looking. I followed him back to his house, and we get to his house, and he's got a nice 2014 California Special Mustang there. He's got a pretty nice house. He's got all of his stuff together. Single guy, not married, no kids, no nothing like that. Reminds me a lot of myself, honestly, right now, but I think that's why anyways, I'm getting too deep with this, but we get to the dude's house, and we unload the bike, and I push it up in his driveway and everything, and he was like, hey, real quick, before you go, do you mind giving me like a quick rundown about riding? I know it sounds horrible, but I'm not exactly sure on what to do. I just would like to be able to start practicing riding it around the neighborhood and whatever. I'm not going to go fast or anything. I just want to, be able to ride it around and pull the bike back out of his driveway. And so I show him the whole thing of like, slip the clutch out slow while you give it a little bit of gas, and that's how you get started moving. If you just let the clutch out, typically you'll stall, but on that bike it didn't really make a difference because it was a 1000, so it's got enough torque not to just kill kill it, you know, just basic stuff. It feels like a day that was just meant to happen because I was supposed to learn from this, and let me explain why. It was just a lot of odd coincidences. And so I guess somehow as he was letting the clutch out, he got scared or something and got spooked because he felt the bike start to move, and so he gave it more gas for some reason, I guess to get moving, half clutch out, and just literally completely dumps it the rest of the way. And in case you don't know how bikes work, what happened is the bike kept going, but he surely didn't. The bike pulled a wheelie as he was sitting on it, and his feet were still on the ground, as you remember, so it kind of like flipped him over backwards onto his back, and the bike wheelied, took off, and flipped over onto at the top of it. So like everything that you're seeing right here, the gas tank, the windshield, the mirror, was literally upside down, and it came smashed back down. Complete 12 o'clock. That's a Lamborghini Gallardo. That looks good. Ooh-wee. Damn, that bitch is nice as fuck. So yeah, he crashes the bike right in front of me, and I literally was just like, are you kidding me? And the reason why is because I just got done completely fixing every single thing on the bike. Brand new mirrors, brand new windshield, brand new fairings, brand new grips, handlebars, headlights, gauge cluster. Every single bit of it was destroyed. And honestly, I almost wanted to buy at that point, it was just like, dude, this is too much. I already know that I'm lying to the guy. I already know that I took his money. I just watched him crash it. This is karma. This is karma. I need to just take the money, give it back to him, and just be like, look, dude, it's good. Don't worry about it. I'll just buy it back from you and I'll fix it. It's no big deal. I'd rather just do that anyways. But I didn't, because whenever I offered it to the guy, he didn't really want to take the cash back. He wanted to keep the bike. He's like, no, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. I'll get it fixed, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, man, but I couldn't tell him why I wanted it back, obviously. And honestly, I should have just told him the truth. And I had so many options out of this, and that's why I don't know. But anyways, so he kept the bike, and I went home, and that was the last that I heard from him for about 2 weeks. I thought that I'd gotten away with it, and I was like, woo, all right. I was feeling good, and I was like, I got a big paycheck. I bought the bike for sub $3,000, sold it for $8,000 because I don't know why. Jesus Christ, even saying this just pisses me off because I was such a damn idiot. But I was like, whoa, I screwed this dude over, got money. And I mean, just like think about that exact thing that I just said, how disgusting that is. Like I said, if it wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have learned. So anyways, 2 weeks later, I get a call from a random number that I didn't know, and I answer it, and I was like, hello? And he said, hey man, this is the guy that you sold the bike to. And I was like, hey dude, what's going on? He was like, nothing. So look, I took the bike to go get fixed. And I was like, well, that's good. Heck yeah. How did it turn out? And he was like, well, they didn't finish it. And I was like, okay, well, why not? And he said, so whenever I took it to Honda, I brought it to him and I told him that it was a 300-mile bike and that I just wrecked it and how sick I was. And I told the service manager everything that was going on with it and whatever, because they had to write it down on the work order anyways. And part of the damage from whenever I flipped it was that the side casing, the stator cover, which on motorcycles, the left casing right here, it's kind of hard to see while I'm riding, but down there's a casing on the left side of the engine, and inside of there is a stator, and that is pretty much like the bike's alternator, so that's why they call it a stator cover. And he said that apparently whenever he wrecked, it laid over on that, and it had barely ever so slightly cracked it, and at the bottom of it, it was leaking oil, and so he had to get that replaced as well. And I was like, okay, cool. And he was like, well, yeah, kind of cool, but here's the thing, dude. And I was like, all right, what? And he said, that is sick. That was a fucking Terminator on slicks. Goddamn. Anyways, he said, well, whenever they pulled the stator cover off and went to go put the new one on, they looked inside the motor and kind of took a double take and called me and was like, hey, this bike does not have 300 miles on it. And I was like, what do you mean? So at this point, I'm nervous because I was like, crap, motherfucker, this is bad. And he said, well, whenever they pulled it off, it turns out that the engine, which was verified already by the Honda technician, they verified for sure that that bike did not only have 300 miles on it. That had the mileage of a like 10,000 mile, 15,000 mile bike, which obviously it doesn't sound like a lot for cars. If you guys are familiar listening to mileage on cars and stuff and judging on them by that, you can't do that on motorcycles. 10,000 miles on a bike is essentially like having 100,000 miles on a car. If you've got like 30,000 miles on a bike, that's the equivalent of pretty much having like 200,000 miles on a car. Motorcycles rev a lot higher than cars do. Typically, I mean, even on my race cars that rev higher than you would believe, they rev to 8,000 RPM, and this is a cross-plane R1, which doesn't even rev as high as a lot of the bikes do, but this one revs to 14,000 RPM, which is insane. 14,000 revolutions per minute of that engine spinning around, so obviously they're not going to last under that abuse for long. Anyways, I was like, really? Well, that's interesting. I wonder what happened. And he said, well, you could go ahead and stop acting stupid. And I was like, okay, why do you say that? And he said, dude, look, after it happened, I went and hired an entire team of private investigators to go look up all of your stuff and figure out what happened to the bike. And I didn't want to call you and tell you about it until we had a for sure, like 100% know exactly what's going on. And I was like, great, okay, so what do you mean? And so he said to his private investigators, listen how crazy, okay, so this I guess is something that most people don't think of whenever they do stupid stuff, but private investigators are real smart, they're real good. You're not going to evade them, so don't even try. They literally pulled up my eBay account, they pulled up proof that I bought a brand new speedometer, they pulled up proof that I sold the older speedometer. You remember how I told you it was broken after the wreck and I had to sell it because I was trying to recoup some money back because speedometers are expensive, so I was trying to recoup some of the money that I paid for the brand new one, so I sold the old one. Well, I'll be surely damned, it showed in a very, very small corner picture of the picture where I was posting the odometer, gauge cluster, whatever, for sale on eBay, had a picture of the red fairing in the very far corner, to which they actually cross-referenced on my Facebook page and found a picture, not even that I posted, but a picture that I commented on somebody else's stuff of the bike whenever it was still red. And so just like that, they had cold hard proof that I had a red bike that got wrecked. I sold parts from it, I bought new parts from it, replaced them with the new parts, and then sold the bike to him as a brand new bike. And he told me all of this on the phone, and I literally sat there completely silent. That was the first time that I had ever encountered the feeling of absolute, complete, utter disgust in yourself. I mean, like, I just felt completely defeated. Like, everything, I don't know, I felt horrible. Like, I felt morally completely broken. It was just the worst feeling ever. That was the lowest feeling that I've ever had about myself in my life. So he said, look, man, and that, like, verbatim, this is what he did. He was like, look, dude, I've been there. I've done that. I've done the exact same stuff. I grew up just like you. I had problems growing up too. I did stupid shit. I'm a felon. I don't want you to be a felon. I want you to listen to what I'm going to tell you. And I was like, at this point, I'm crying because I was like, holy fuck, what is going on? This is insane. Like, I don't know. I was so overwhelmed. And so I was like, okay, I'm listening. 17 years old, 16 again, remember. And so I'm listening to this grown man talk to me, and he's like, dude, I grew up the same way. I had a rough childhood. I had rough this and that and whatever, but it's not right to go do this kind of stuff to people. You can't do it. It was basically just gave me a long spill. He was like, I promise you're going to regret it. I went to jail for blank amount of years. I don't remember now, but he said I went to jail for because of something really stupid that I promise you don't want to hear about that I did. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't know that. And he was like, yeah, well, trust me, I changed now, but the way that I learned from it was by going to jail. And that's how everybody else learns from it. I don't want you to learn that way. I want you to be able to take what I'm saying right now and change your entire life and not do this anymore. That was all it took. And I was like, okay, well, thank you so much. And like, I'm crying my eyes out at this point. I didn't know what to do. And so he's talking to me and he's like, look, man, I don't want the bike. I don't want the money back. I don't want to bring the bike back to you. I don't want anything to happen to you. I don't want you to go to jail. I just want you to remember this. And this is why I felt like it was important to share this story with you guys, because he didn't want me to go to jail. He didn't want anything. He was a person that cared about humanity. He cared about seeing people change and people do right and people, despite their mistakes, recover and change their life and continue on. And that is literally exactly what I did. And so he asked, he was like, look, I'm going to send you over all the proof that we have. I don't want to take you to court, but I think that the right thing to do would be for you to at least send me back some of the money back for the bike that we agree to as being fair, and we go on with our lives, and that's it. And so I was like, yep, I totally agree. What do we need to agree on? So we ended up agreeing on a few $1,000s back to him just because of the, you know, conditions. And so he said he would pay me the fair market price of whatever the bike was worth with the amount of miles that I sold it to him actually with, and not what I told him it had. And so I sent him back the money for the extra that he sent me, and I kept the amount that it was actually worth to begin with, and moved on with my life. But I never, ever, ever, ever will forget that day, because that day was the absolute turning point for my entire life as far as that kind of stuff goes. I've never since then have done anything even remotely close to that stupid. Like, yes, obviously I've done stupid stuff since then. Everybody continues doing stupid stuff. I make mistakes. I'm a human. I can't make the right decision all the time, but I can say that has 100% changed my life in a great way, because I look at things so much differently. I talk to people so much differently. I treat people so much differently. Everything is different from how I used to be. I'm a different person. And so the reason that I wanted to share this with you guys is not because I am just trying to like expose all of my truths and have you guys beat me down in the comments. The reason why I'm doing it is because I want to use this platform to basically hopefully change someone else's life watching this the same way that that guy changed my life. If it would not have been for him, I know I would have ended up in jail. I know I would have ended up dead. I know I would have ended up in whatever misfortune, you fill in the blank yourself, that can get thrown at somebody that does stupid shit like that. I would have ended up that way if it was not for him. He definitely could have sued me. He definitely could have done whatever, but he didn't. And that changed my entire outlook on life, and I will be forever grateful for that. So like I said, if that guy is watching this, or I don't know, if anybody knows the situation and knows the guy maybe, or something, I would love to talk to him again. Incredible how much that one situation has done for me. Yeah, I truly do think that everything does happen for a reason to some extent, and I really do believe that that day, the reason why all that stuff happened the way that it did and it all panned out the way it did, was because that situation specifically was sent to me to be able to teach me something about life that I didn't know before, so that way I didn't continue doing the stuff that I did and continue on the wrong path. Some people may call it a sign from God. Some people may call it whatever. Everything happens for a reason. Some people may call it destiny. You call it whatever you want. You believe whatever you want. But what I will say is that people don't just live through getting completely, you know, destroyed almost by a brick mailbox. I went through a brick mailbox. My body, whenever I recovered from it and continued being stupid and made the mistakes that I did, I should have gotten sued. I should have been in jail. I should have been killed. I should have been, I mean, I can continue on. There was a lot of stupid stuff that I did that I should have been treated way differently than I was for it. But I think the reason why I was not treated differently is because, honestly, those situations is all that it took for me to change. It only took, I've never been the kid, I guess, growing up where I had to get beat. I didn't really have to get spanked much growing up, regardless of what happened to me growing up. I didn't have to get treated that way. I was honestly a really, I guess, grown-up kid. So whenever he told me that and sat me down and had a mature man-to-man, even though I wasn't technically, I guess, an adult at the time, but a man-to-man discussion, and really just explained and laid it out for me and gave it to me in a way that I could relate to it, it really just made it so much easier to understand and really affected me in a lot of different ways that I really didn't expect to be affected like. But anyways, guys, that is the second half of the story, where I pretty much did the dumbest thing that I've ever done in my life. I think that is the biggest regret that I've ever had involving that bike. It was just that bike in general, honestly. I did so many just back-to-back stupid things. I negotiated the guy way down on the price whenever he probably didn't even need to negotiate that low. I was just using negotiation tactics to get it as cheap as possible so that I could resell it. It was just being greedy for money. I took the bike then and knew I shouldn't have rode it. I did anyways, and I ran from the cops. I really shouldn't have done that, but I did. I should have admitted to the story of what happened. I should have been honest, and I didn't. And because of that, I paid the price, and luckily I was able to come out of it the way that I did, and I'm forever grateful that everything turned out the way that it did and I didn't end up worse. So like I said, hopefully this will help somebody out there. Hopefully it changes somebody's life in the same way that it did for me. Hopefully it just affects someone the way that it affected me. Anyways, guys, that is going to be a wrap for this episode of Storytime. If you enjoyed this, make sure you drop a like on this video, subscribe if you have not already, and just because I'm curious, like I said last video, I think I maybe touched on it a little bit more this video, everybody makes mistakes. Not everybody's going to admit to it. Not everybody is going to tell you the stuff that they've done, and that's fine. But for me, the reason why I want to tell people about the mistakes that I've made is not because I want to be, I don't know, looked at different or whatever. It's because I want to use those mistakes that I've made, that I learned from, to be able to let other people learn from them also. So comment down below. Let me know if you guys have had any mistakes that you've made that you've learned from. I'm kind of curious to see other people's bad mistakes and how they've learned from it and what it did and how it affected them and everything. I love hearing stories about that kind of stuff. It's just like, it's just that kind of stuff is more of evidence really that backs that things do happen for some kind of a reason. I don't know. So comment down below. Let me know. Like I said, I want to hear about your mistakes. I want to hear what you learned. I want to hear whatever that you've done in your life that you regret. I want to hear how you've changed from it, how you've grown, and hopefully this video helps reinforce that. So hopefully this video lets those people out there who have made mistakes the same way that I have know that, to be honest, just come out front, clear your plate, clear your slate, clear whatever, clear your mind, just get it off your head, get it off your shoulders, get it off your chest, clear the air, move on. Learn from it, move on. Everybody makes mistakes. It's crucial for growth in your life. It's gonna happen. So learn from them, grow up. So anyways, guys, this is the last outro. I love how I do this every time. I don't know. Every time I get on the story time episodes and I start talking about this kind of stuff, I just hate ending it because I could talk forever and ever and ever about it. I love talking about the things that I've learned in life. So if you guys want to see more episodes like this, like I said, comment down below, let me know. Drop a like, subscribe if you've not already. And for now, I will see you guys next video.